Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wolf Pit. Today, I'm going to show you how to make pepper steak two different ways. The first pepper steak is my favorite pepper steak, slow cooked pepper steak. The second pepper steak we're going to be making is more of a traditional Chinese style pepper steak. So let's get started with our slow cooked pepper steak. Here I have 3 shoulder steaks that total just over 2 pounds that I'm going to cut against the grain into about 1/4 inch slices. I'm also not going to trim off any excess fat. Like you've heard me say before, fat is flavor. Once all the meat is sliced, season with salt, and black pepper. Now in a large skillet over medium-high heat, add cooking oil. Move it around, let it coat the bottom of the pan and heat up. There's too much meat to cook all at once, so we're going to cook it in 2 separate batches. If you put all the meat in the pan at once, it's going to bring the temperature of the pan down, release all the moisture in the meat, and the meat's going to boil versus brown. Now spread the meat out into an even layer and let it sit there for at least a minute before you begin to stir it. This will help you do 2 things. It'll help you get color on the meat, and it will also prevent the meat from sticking to the pan. If you'd like a full printable copy of this recipe and many more, visit thewolfpit.com. Now after about a minute, give the meat a mix. And then spread it back out into a nice even layer and let it go for 1 more minute. And then mix the meat around and cook for another 30 seconds or so. Remove the meat from the pan and then cook the second batch the same way. Once all the meat has been browned, add it all back into the skillet and then add minced garlic. Mix it in. Now add a can of stewed tomatoes. And don't worry, if you don't like stewed tomatoes or tomatoes for that matter, you won't even know they're in the dish when it's done. They pretty much disintegrate. Now add soy sauce. And beef broth, and then give it a good mix to get everything well combined. After mixing everything together, I decided to add a little bit more beef broth. Give it another good mix, bring it up to a boil, reduce the heat to medium-low, cover, and let it simmer for about an hour or until the meat is tender. And here's the meat after an hour. And it's looking and smelling amazing, but it's not quite tender yet, so I'm going to put the lid back on and let it go for another 15 to 20 minutes. In a medium skillet over medium-high heat, add olive oil. Then add fairly thick sliced yellow onion. Give them a quick sauté for 30 seconds. Now I'm going to add a rainbow color of bell peppers just to make it pretty for you guys. You don't have to do this. You can add 1 color, 2 colors, 3 colors. I don't really care. It's your pepper steak, not mine. Make it how you like it. Even though they're all bell peppers, they all do have a slightly different flavor, the red one being the best flavor and sweetest in my opinion. Now sauté the peppers and onions for 2 to 3 minutes. I want the peppers and onions to be tender crisp when they're done. If you like your vegetables softer, cook them a little bit longer. After simmering for an hour and 20 minutes, the meat is tender. Now mix in the peppers and onions. Once the peppers and onions are mixed in, bring it up to a simmer and let them cook for 2 to 3 minutes, just until they cook down slightly. Now mix in a cornstarch slurry to thicken, which is nothing more than equal parts cornstarch and cold water. Once you pour it in and start stirring, it will immediately thicken. And there you have it, pepper steak the slow cooked way. The steak is melt in your mouth tender, but not fall apart tender like a pot roast. The gravy is savory and rich, and the peppers and onions are sweet and still have a nice bite to them. This pepper steak turned out absolutely amazing. Serve it over rice, egg noodles, or stuff it into a hoagie roll, top with cheese, and enjoy. Now let's make the more traditional stir-fried pepper steak. And what we have here is an almost 2-pound piece of top round. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, and since it's so thick, we're going to go ahead and cut it lengthwise, and then we're going to start cutting it into bite-sized pieces. As you can notice, the grain is going this way, so obviously we want to cut against the grain. So we're going to cut this in half. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and slice this up. And just to make it easier, we're going to slice this in half. Alright. Now we're going to go ahead and start slicing this up into bite-sized pieces. And we're going to cut this on a bias. This will help give you bigger pieces, and the pieces will be more tender too. So we're going to slice it. Slice it. Slice it. Kind of sound like Martin Yan, don't I? Slice it. Slice it. Slice it. Okay, so we got half of it cut up. We're going to continue and go ahead and cut up the other half. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and get our marinade ready for our top round meat. And we're going to do a process here. It's called velveting. We have 3 egg whites, and we have about 4 tablespoons of Chinese rice wine, and about 4 tablespoons of soy sauce, and about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Alright, we have our marinade mixed up. Now we're going to go ahead and put it on top of our beef. Get your hands in there and get it well incorporated with the meat. The better you mix it, the better your meat will be marinated. Alright, our meat is all mixed up, and we're going to pop this in the refrigerator for about an hour and let it marinate, and then we'll come back to our next step. Alright, we're going to go ahead and make our sauce for our pepper steak. And what we have here is 1 cup of water, and we're going to add 1 tablespoon of beef base to that. Then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of light soy sauce, and 4 tablespoons of oyster sauce. And then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, and this will be our thickener for our sauce. We're just going to combine everything here. And we're going to add about a teaspoon of sesame oil. Alright, there you go. Our simple sauce for our pepper steak. Alright, our meat's been marinated in the fridge for about an hour. Now I've gone ahead and blotted this dry with some paper towels and let it sit out at room temperature for about 30 minutes. Now we're going to go ahead and velvet this meat. Okay, now we have a wok with boiling water in it, and now we're going to go ahead and dump our meat in it. Let this cook for about 30 seconds and take it out, and then we'll be ready to start stir frying. Alright, after about 30 seconds the water's come back up to a boil, so we're going to turn the heat off and remove the meat. Alright, now we got a hot wok, and we're going to go ahead and add a couple tablespoons of vegetable oil in here. Alright, we're going to go ahead and add in 1 large yellow onion, 1 large bell pepper, and about 5 tablespoons of garlic. We're stir fry this for about 1 minute. Alright, now we're ready to go ahead and add our beef in. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and add our sauce in after about 2 minutes of stir frying. All right, our sauce is thickened up right away. We're going to go ahead and get this plated up. Look at that. Look how rich and thick and nice the sauce looks. All right, our pepper steak is done. It's nice and piping hot. So let's go ahead and dig in here and give everything a try. Start off with a piece of steak first. That is amazing. You could not ever tell that was top round meat. So tender, so moist. Let's get some pepper. A little bit of onion on here. Nice and tender crisp. Let's get one more piece of meat here. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.